You'll notice that you are currently muted. During this evening's program, you're going to have an opportunity to ask questions. And so there's a couple different ways that you can do that. One is by raising your hand. There's a button down towards the bottom that you can raise your hand. And then the other way is in the chat box as well. If there's any questions that you have or anything you want to share, you can type that in there as well.
Okay, Jyoti, I think whenever you're ready, and I'll keep an eye for individuals coming in.
Homa, welcome to the second night of the wonderful celebration of the Divine Mother, Navratri. Tonight we have a very special program for you. For those who are joining for the first time, last night we launched Navratri with a little bit about what Navratri is. It's a celebration of the Divine Mother in many of her different forms. And we actually look at Navratri primarily in the main form of Durga on the first 3 nights, the second 3 nights Lakshmi, and the final 3 nights Saraswati. Each night is an aspect of those beautiful forms of Mother, of Ma. And so SwaminiJi each night is talking about these beautiful forms, what they mean for us on our spiritual path. And in terms of the program, you're going to have every evening, we'll be starting with Devi, who is going to be doing a Homa, which is a fire ceremony for us, to Mother. And then SwaminiJi will be guiding us in meditation and Satsang, followed by speakers and also Kirtan. And so tonight, Devi is going to be one of our guest speakers for the evening. And then also we have a Kirtan with Rene Sunbird at the end of the program. And then SwaminiJi will close us off with prayer. So we hope that you'll join us for the entire program tonight, and then you'll continue to join us for the remaining nights. So thank you so much for being here, Jema. And I'm so pleased to introduce you to Devi, who will be one of our guest speakers and doing a Homa tonight and every evening. She has been in the blissful presence of spiritual masters for most of her life. And as a child, Devi spent her formative years at the feet of Sri Brahmananda Saraswati at Ananda Ashram in upstate New York. And when her guru took Mata Samadhi in the early 90s, she was embraced in the arms of Amma and became a devotee. With over 20 years as a Kirtan leader, she has nourished and honed a passion for mantra, sacred texts, and the performance of puja and homas for the upliftment of all beings. Despite Devi's busy schedule, she makes time to be the music director for the local Santana Dharma class for children and the music coordinator for various satsangs in New Jersey. And I present Diana Devi.
Om Namah Shivaya. Salutations to all of you who are the form of the Divine Mother, whether known or unknown. Thank you so much, Jyoti Ma. Thank you so much, SwaminiJi. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all on this blessed occasion. Usually my Navaratris are spent hopping from house to house because it's such a huge event and everybody has a celebration at their house and you're invited to all of them and it's bad form. It's a little disrespectful to say no. So it's like 1 hour at this house, 1 hour at that house, and you just bounce. And I wasn't sure what we were going to be doing considering it's the pandemic. So when this came up, I jumped at the opportunity because what's better than to keep company with such great souls. So thank you again for inviting me. Thank you for thinking of me, and thank you everybody for being here. So we'll be going through and doing a Homa, as Jyoti Ma, you said. And as I'm pulling up my own notes, because I just realized it's not the normal Homa that I usually do. There's some extra bits on it that I actually need to remember. So as you can see, we have the Homa pot here. We have 5 rows of cow dung with ghee that we're going to be burning, and I put some camphor tablets in there so it goes up pretty quick. This is something that can be done by anybody, menstruating women, householders, it doesn't matter. This is actually something that used to be done all the time. in your average household, and it helps purify the atmosphere, and the ash also has incredible healing properties as well. You can throw it in your garden and it helps to deter pests and fungus. You can also take it internally and it helps balance your inner body algorithm. It is part of the Ayurvedic process. It's an Ayurvedic Homa. Sorry, I can't type and talk at the same time. My talents are minimal. And typically it's done sunrise and sunset. However, you can modify it so that it is just once a day. Because let's face it, we're all very busy. Right, and so with that, we'll get started. Just to let you know the sequence, we'll do some opening mantras, some opening invocations. We'll go into the feeding of the fire. We'll do the Gayatri mantra. We'll do the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. So that's Bhurabhuva Swaha, and Trayambakam Yajamahe, the Vyakriti mantra, Om Bhu Swaha. And then we'll go into doing the individual Devi mantra for today, for Brahmacharini. We'll offer that into the fire 9 times. We'll ask forgiveness. We'll close out with Lokatha, and then it's off to SwaminiJi to tell us all about today's Durga manifestation. So with your permission, we'll begin. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Dhyayamo Navalagam Navati Tejomayim Nishtatim Smitaphanga Vilokanim Bhagavatim Mandasmita Shri Mukhim Vatsalyamritavashtanim Samaduram Sankirtanalapanim Yamangi Madhusika Sukhim Amritanandatmikam Ishwari Om Amriteshwariye Namaha Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Tasmai Shri Guruve Om Vapratunda Mahakaya Suryakote Samaprabha Yavignam Guru Medeva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Agnaye Swaha Agnaye Dhanamama Prajapataye Swaha. Prajapataye Namaha. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha. Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Swaha. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha. Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Swaha. Om Bhurabhuva Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Swaha. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiv Bandhanam Mrityurmukshiyamamritat. Om Swaha. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiv Bandhanam Mrityurmukshiyamamritat. Om Swaha. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardanam Urvarukamiv Bandhanam Mrityurmukshiyamamritat. Om Swaha. Om Swaha. Agnaye Idam Nama Swaha. Vayave Idam Nama Swaha. Suryaya Idam Nama Bhurabhuva Swaha. Prajapataye Idam Nama. Om Devi Brahmacharinyai Swaha. 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 Mantrahinam Kriyahinam Bhaktihinam Mahishwari Yadbhujitam Maya Devi Paripurnam Tadastute. Om Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Lokaha Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Guru Vyo Namaha. Hari Om. And this concludes day 2 Homa ceremony. Namaskar.
Thank you so much, Devi. So next we're going to move into meditation, followed by Satsang with SwaminiJi. And it gives me such pleasure to introduce her. For those who are not familiar with SwaminiJi, Swamini Shivadananda Saraswati Ji is the founder and the primary spiritual teacher of Kula Kamala Foundation and Yoga Ashram in Reading, Pennsylvania in the US. SwaminiJi is also currently serving as the interim chaplain at the Multi-Faith Center at Albright College in Reading, Pennsylvania. She began offering ministry with her community about 13 years ago, and her path to ministry was activated and empowered by her growing understanding of the universal teachings of Advaita, Vedanta, and Tantra, her practice of yoga, and her own path of healing. The basis of her practice was and is to explore faith and what it means to be human, to be spiritual, to suffer and heal. And through education and experience, SwaminiJi integrates the methods she has studied into a very unique offering of service and learning, which intends to reduce suffering, reduce harm, empower potential, and celebrate unity. With thousands of hours of advanced study in spirituality, yoga, yoga psychology, positive psychology, and Vedic counseling, SwaminiJi communities. Some of SwaminiJi's early work include her authoring 2 hospital-based yoga therapy programs. And more recently, SwaminiJi authored a mindfulness program, I Am Mindful for Children. As an educator, a leader, and spiritual figure, SwaminiJi has provided spiritual programming at 5 colleges in New Jersey. And she has also offered talks at numerous conferences and workshops across the US and globally. She holds a PhD in anthropology and is the author of several books of poetry, most recently 30 Days. SwaminiJi also took her sannyasa vows on the banks of the Holy Mother Ganga last year, almost 1 year ago. She teaches and promotes so many beautiful topics, nonviolence, human rights and values, women's rights, LGBTQ rights, along with yoga, tantra, yoga, goddess wisdom, Ayurveda, and so much more. And you can learn so much more about SwaminiJi by joining us for the week, and also about her programs at kulakamalafoundation.org.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. Thank you, Jyoti Ma. And Devi, thank you. Thank you. Such a beautiful Homa, a beautiful ceremony. Ma is very happy. She is celebrating with us. Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. It is so wonderful to have this time together and to share with you the devotion and the love that we can all experience toward the Mother, and to celebrate the gifts that we consistently receive from her. We're going to start a meditation in a moment, a concentration practice, and for some it will lead to meditation, and for others it will just be a concentration practice. Either way, it is an opportunity to go deep within yourself and to inquire about the areas inside of your being that are resistant to connection, that are open to connection, areas where you might be able to surrender just a little bit, something you might be able to let go of for just a few moments, and allow the grace of the Mother to have even the smallest of windows to come in and to touch your heart, to purify your heart, and to illustrate for you the power of her love, the power of her grace. And then after that, we'll come into Satsang, and we'll talk a bit about Brahmacharini, which is the form of Durga for this evening. She is the second of the Navdurga, the second of the 9 forms of the Mother Durga. So let's sit up nice and tall, and making sure that both feet are grounded, and that you are sitting with your spine erect, and that your shoulders are relaxed, and your head is balanced between your shoulders. And your hands are somewhere in your lap, comfortable. The arms are just dangling, and the forearms, or the back of the forearms, could be resting on the thighs, perhaps. And you're not leaning forward, back, or side to side. You are a clear channel with no unnecessary obstruction, so that the energy of the breath, the prana, the grace that flows in and out with each breath, can move through unencumbered every part of your being. So with the eyes closed, we begin to breathe. We breathe in potentially through the nostrils if possible. We breathe out also through the nostrils. And with each breath, we receive the gift of the mother. And with each breath out, we say thank you for that gift. With each breath in, we receive her grace humbly. And with each breath out, we share that grace by being a good steward in this world. Breathing in, we receive her wisdom. Breathing out, we share her wisdom as we become a teacher to every single person that we meet, a teacher of kindness and compassion, strength, truth, and love. Breathing in, we receive her qualities, her discipline, her patience, her love, her sacrifice. Breathing out, we bring these qualities into our own life, investigating where they fit easily and where we need to do a little bit of work. Breathing in and breathing out. Feel that each breath is the breath of the mother. Feel that each breath is the life of the mother. And feel that each breath is the love of the mother. And just take a few moments here now, just breathing in silence and investigating how that breath connects you to all that is sacred and to the divine feminine that offers it to you. In these moments, set your own personal intention. Why are you here this evening? What is it that you wish to direct your energy toward? Create your own personal intention using very simple language, very straightforward. And once you have the words, repeat it silently to yourself 3 times and allow each word to have great meaning. Beloved Mother, protector of all, the one who creates all, who brings forward everything on all the planes, in all the worlds. Shower your grace upon us. Be forgiving of our errors and remind us constantly of our duty, of our dharma. Provide us with the tools that we need in order to uplift the dharma. Allow us to live in the light of your victory and allow us to share in the wisdom of that victory so that as we move day to day throughout our life, we become a warrior similar to you, standing up for what is right, for what is good, and for what unifies us, and not tolerating that which doesn't. Remind us of your love on a constant basis, so that every time we look up at the stars or out at the ocean or into the eyes of another being, we are reminded that the essence is you. And being reminded of that essence, we are no longer capable of hating. We are no longer capable of harming. We are only capable of supporting and of loving. provide us with the tools that we need on our spiritual journey. Whether we are a yogi or a Christian or a Jew or any other tradition, please see to it that we have what we need in order to commit ourselves to the work necessary to open ourselves spiritually and to come to a place of true awakening. To separate our ego, accept our ego as an offering upon your altar, as we do not know what to do with it, but you do. And finally, continually embrace us as the night sky embraces the moon, as the day sky embraces the sun, and as the air around us embraces our physical bodies. Please be with us always, embracing us and holding us close. Drawing the hands together in front of the heart, we'll lift our voices in one Om. Take a breath in. Om. Bowing the head to the heart, acknowledging all that is. Acknowledging Ma, Jai Ma. And draw the face to center. Keeping the eyes at a soft gaze. No need to keep the eyes too sharp tonight. We'll allow ourselves to have a little bit of softness so that we can be a bit more like a sponge and absorb what it is that is supporting us, what it is that we're listening to that is providing us with some understanding, some relief. So this is the second night of Navratri. And as Jyoti Ma said, and as Devi Ji said, now this is the 9 nights of the Divine Mother, the warrior, the original warrior. She is the original spiritual warrior. And she is the mother of all. She goes by many, many names. And each one represents a particular aspect of her being. So I guess to make it a little bit more understandable, you could say that to some people, I'm Swamini. To my grandchildren, I'm Mimi. When I'm out in the world doing things that are illegal, I am Miss Allet. We go by different names depending upon who it is that we're talking to or the role that we're playing. When I was at college, I was professor. Well, it's kind of similar to that. Depending upon what it is that the mother was doing at a given point in time, whether she was a young maiden or she was just married to Shiva, or she was the mother of Kartikeya and Ganesha, or she was in the form of the fierce and beloved Kali. There's a different name that represents each one of those. And when we come into Navratri, we are celebrating at a minimum 9 of those names. Nav means 9, Ratri means nights. So 9 nights of the goddess. Last night was Shailaputri. Tonight is Brahmacharini. And I have to say that out of all of these 9 names, I love them all dearly, and I'm always so intrigued by each one of them. But there's something about Brahmacharini that that really gets my attention. And I believe that it is her amazing ability to marry together tapas and love. She is able to marry together her discipline and her eternal love in a way that is seamless in a way that honors both completely and 100%, in a way that allows her the strength, the courage, the understanding to do whatever it is that she needs to do on her path in order to come into connection with consciousness. So having said that, now I'm going to back up a little bit. So the name Brahmacharini, Brahma is that universal consciousness. Charini comes from charya, which has a few different definitions, but one of them is to be like or to study. So Brahmacharini is to be like that universal consciousness or to study that universal consciousness. And so in this phase, in this incarnation, in this moment of her incarnation, she is practicing. She is studying. She is committing herself to tapas so that she can be like that in the human form. Of course, she is that. But her name tells us, and her behavior, her life example shows us what we need to do if our heart's longing is to come into close contact or to surrender completely to that universal consciousness. That we must surrender ourselves to our spiritual practices. Now, from the story last night, we learned that Shiva, his beloved was Sati, and Sati died. And Shiva had such deep grief. He went into a very, very long meditation. And while he was there, a demon named Tarka approached Brahma and said, I've done all this tapas for you. I think I deserve a boon. I would like to make it so that I can only be killed by one of Shiva's children. And thinking, well, Shiva's probably never going to get married again because Sati was his only love. And he's over there in that meditation and he's probably never going to come out. So the odds of him having a child and of me, getting killed by this child in war at any point in time is pretty near zero. So he thought he had it in the bag. Brahma gave him this boon. And the moment that he did, Tarka began to upend the world. He began to exploit and steal and ruin. And the people of the world became so distressed. They approached Brahma and Vishnu and they said, you need to talk to Shiva. His behavior is harming us right now. He needs to come back and take care of his duty. And they were, well, but he's still in mourning. He's not going to come back right now. So they thought about it, and they knew that in the eternal realm, Shiva's eternal beloved is Kali Ma. And so all the people got together and they began to pray to Kali, calling her Sati, saying, please, come down here, reincarnate again, and bring him out of this state. Allow him to fall madly in love with you, to marry you, and to have many children, so that your child can put an end to the reign of terror that is Tarka. After listening for a while, and after the people performed their tapas, their spiritual practices, she agreed. She came back into this realm, and she came back as the daughter of the mountain Himalaya. And as a young girl, she sought out Shiva and she found him meditating. And she thought that, well, you know, he loves discipline and he loves dedication and devotion. And if I show him how disciplined I am, then maybe it will stir him out of this state and he'll see that I'm actually his eternal beloved. And then he will feel better. And then we can fall madly in love in this human form, get married in this human form, have children, and live out this human life. But it didn't work because Shiva was in such a deep state of grief that he was not willing to even look at her. Some stories say, so she set up her yoga blanket. It's like a rug, right? They don't use the same kind of mats in India that we use typically. They use a rug. She set it up right in front of him. And she sat in her tapas and she performed her practices right in front of him so that if he even blinked his eye, that he could not help but see her. And still, nothing. This went on for years, centuries, maybe 1,000 years. The time of the gods is not at all like ours, you know. So they say 1,000 years or 10,000 years, and it just means it was a really, really long time. And she never gave up. She never doubted. She never threw her arms up in the air and said, that's it, can't do it anymore. When it was suggested to her that she stop, she said, no. He's my beloved. I will not leave him. It doesn't matter what I have to do. At some point, he's going to open his eyes and he will see me. And when he sees me, he will know me. And so she continued. Now, before I go on, I want to come back again to her name, Brahmacharini. She is the student of the divine. She is studying the aspect of consciousness. She is studying to be like that. Of course, she already is that. But in this human form, that's the name that she took, so that we could experience and witness her journey through witnessing her journey. And we could come to understand that there is a value, a very, very great value, a great benefit to us to dedicate ourselves to knowing God. There is a benefit like no other to dedicating ourselves to recognizing all that is divine, all that is sacred, all that is of the mother, all that is of the father. In many instances within the tradition, they say you must honor them both or you're not honoring either. So the more that we practice, the more that we engage our tapas, the deeper we go into that dedication and into that understanding that universal consciousness is universal consciousness, whatever you wish to call that. And what you call that is based on your temperament, your culture, your background, your karma. But really, there's no difference. Shiva and Shakti in the eternal realm are Ardha Narishwara, that which is eternally joined together and can never be separated. You cannot have Shiva without Shakti. And you cannot come to know Shakti without Shiva. Shiva represents consciousness. Shakti represents the energy of everything. The energy that moves that consciousness, that turns it and kneads it and massages it so that it explores what it is and what it can do. She's the instigator, I suppose you could say. So here she is, this young woman. She's not even a woman yet. She's like 16 years old, you know, so she's a young teenager. And she has more discipline than many of us. She is willing to sit in meditation, stand on her head, stay in silence, fast, chant her mantras over and over and over and over again. Do whatever tapas it is that she has to do in order to come into a deep communion with Shiva, with consciousness. Now, for her purposes, this experience is in some part about Shiva coming out of this meditation, them conjoining and having a child too, actually, and that child then pursuing the child's dharma of bringing an end to Tarka so that there is an end to evil in the world. For us, it is about marrying ourselves to consciousness so that we can bring forth symbolic children in our actions. So when we're married to consciousness, when we surrender to consciousness, when we come to know the essence of consciousness within ourselves, around us, and throughout everything everywhere, then every single behavior that we commit to is a child of sorts of that union. And those behaviors are the ones that are going to rid this world of all that harms it. So you could say that your choice to be kind, that your choice to be generous, that your choice to be compassionate, that your choice to be loving, that your choice to be a unifying power in this world, that those are like the children of Shiva and Parvati. That is the essence of Ganesh and Kartikeya. Because those are the qualities that are necessary. Just like Kartikeya and Ganesha were necessary in order to battle Tarka, your behaviors in line with those virtues are necessary in order to battle the harm and violence that exists in the world today. So there's nothing in these stories, there's nothing in these parables, there's nothing in these scriptures that is not about you. Absolutely, we're talking about the incarnation of Shiva and of Shakti and the amazing love that they experienced and the journey that they shared. But we're also looking to them as our Maha Guru. They are our teachers. Their life is our example. Their wisdom is our longing. And so when we're studying these beautiful retellings, what we're actually hearing in some good part is how to walk the path ourselves. So we have Brahmacharini, and she is this very strong-willed young woman who is not taking no for an answer. She understands that she needs to put in the work in order to awaken consciousness. Again, Shiva is consciousness, and he is in a kind of a yogic meditative sleep, because he's in that place beyond the beyond as he's meditating. And so she understands that it's going to take her dedication and her discipline and her consistent regular sadhana, her consistent regular spiritual practice to awaken that consciousness. And for you and I, what that means is that we need to do our spiritual practice consistently, as if it were the only thing. We need to do it 24/7, all the time, be a spiritual practitioner, if we really want to awaken to consciousness. Now, in the story, of course, Shiva is the one who is in this state of deep, deep meditative bliss. But in our life, we are in a state of deep, deep ignorant sleep. And in the yoga scriptures, that's the word they use, ignorance. They say we are ignorant, and ignorance is the cause of our suffering. If we wish to wake from that ignorance, and if we wish to wake from that ignorance and come to know the true essence of that amazing, wonderful, beautiful, complete essence that we call God or Goddess, then in some ways we have to earn it. You see, we can't just go and grab the food without washing our hands first. We have to wash our hands, otherwise we soil the food. Similarly, we cannot just grab hold of consciousness without purifying our heart first. Otherwise, we come into a deep place of misunderstanding. We misunderstand what all of this represents. And we start thinking, well, this is about me. It's just about me. It's all about me. It's not about you. It's about me. And, you know, even though you are the one that has to do the spiritual practices, you are the one that needs to learn to surrender or to just surrender. You are the one that needs to allow yourself to free fall into the bliss of knowing. You are the one that needs to do the ritual. You are the one that needs to show up. You are the one that needs to do that. But why are you doing that? It's not just for you. It is for this entire world. It is so that all other beings everywhere experience some amount of reduction of suffering. And here's what that entails. If you walk through this life as an angry person, lashing out at every single person, people know that energy. Even if they can't put a name to it, or if they're not aware that they know it, they do. Their nervous system knows it. They know it on the inside. And the moment that they see you, they become tense, they become afraid, they become defensive. Maybe they become so frightened that they run away. So many different things happen. So by adopting an external expression of anger or hate or criticizing judgment or separation, we are actually sending those signals out to every single person in our proximity. And it is causing them suffering, whether we know it or not, and whether they know it or not. But if you are committed to these beautiful virtues of nonviolence, non-stealing, compassion, truthfulness. Truthfulness is tricky. We'll talk about that. Then, when people see you, even if you're a mile away, they're not getting that energy of, uh-oh, here comes so-and-so, I better go run and hide, act like I don't see them so that I don't have to receive their energy. They won't be afraid of you. And if they're not afraid of you, then they have a moment that they can breathe. And in that moment that they're breathing, they're nourishing their body and their mind. Their nervous system is resetting itself. And you've given them a great, great gift. So I know the first time that I read through these retellings of the Leelas of Durga and the Nav Durga, I remember thinking, there's so much here. So much here. And we did our first Nav Durga, our second, I think maybe it was the third. There was a student who had come to each one of them, And I believe it was on the third retelling that she asked a question after the session. She said, why is it that every time, every year, because we do it twice a year, actually we do it in the spring and the fall. She says, why is it that every time it's the same stories, it's the same names, it's the same mantras? And I said, because in between then and now you forgot. Because in between then and now, you have either continued to commit yourself to the mother and to the example that she sets forward for us, or you just kind of dabbled a little bit and then you reverted. And so every time that we retell the story, we're reminding ourselves that as we walk through this world, as we walk upon this earth, as we walk through this life, that every action, every word, every intention matters. It matters with regard to whether or not we will experience the mother in our time, whether we will come into a close, loving relationship with that source, whether we will have a close, loving relationship with each other, or whether we won't. And so if we listen to the stories, and if we hear what's really being shared, if we understand that everything is a mirror of something else. And so in regard to this retelling, it is a mirror for us to look in and to see ourselves in Brahmacharini's place. After all, what would you practice 1,000 years for? Would you practice 1,000 years to know God? Would you practice 1 year to know God? Would you practice 1 day with all your heart? Would you practice for 1 hour? What about 1 minute? Could you practice for 30 seconds for the soul's sake of knowing the divine, and allow that practice to be all-consuming, 100% complete love with no doubt and no distraction? And we're like, oh, I could do that in 30 seconds, sure. But 2 seconds would go by, the phone would ring, the Facebook would beep, the dog would bark, something would happen, a thought would enter the mind, and it would pull us away again. We would allow it to pull us away again. So we keep coming back to these retellings so that we can continually remember what it is that we are always seeming to forget. That it's not the car or the house or the 6-figure salary. They're all really nice, they're great, wonderful. But in the end, they're not going to do it for you. In the end, they have no meaning. In the end, what's going to mean something for you is the relationship that you have cultivated and the dedication and devotion that you have put into your spiritual practice, so that you can come to rely upon the divine as the consistency in your life, rather than these transient things like, money or popularity or that. But it's hard because we're pulled. We're constantly pulled. One person tells us, oh no, my God, you got to get that car. Our friend says, oh, you got to get those clothes. Our spouse says, oh, you got to get that haircut. Our boss says, oh, you got to get that work done. Our other boss says, oh, you got to get this other work done. Then there's a huge conflict, What are we going to be drawn by? By what brings us more suffering, or by what brings us freedom? It's not to say that we don't have to have a job. Of course we have to have a job. We need to work. We need to function in the world. Money is a gift, right? So if we're able to earn money, that's wonderful. it's really the intentionality that you have with regard to it that matters. And, and Brahmacharini has shown us that you don't need very much. You don't need very much. She was willing to put everything to the side in order to have the experience of eternal love. And I know that that sounds bigger than big, maybe even too enormous, It's like, what practical application does that have in the world today? Well, I have an answer for that. If you believe that hate has a practical application in the world today, and you don't particularly like that application, you don't like the power that hate has been given, you don't like the force by which it takes what it wants, then you must have something equally or more powerful in order to be victorious over hate. And the only thing that is big enough is divine love. It's the only thing that's big enough. I have to say that I was making a comment on something on Facebook the other day, and I put down, compassion, peace, equity, thoughtfulness. These are all very important qualities in a leader. And someone came back and said, "Are you crazy? Those are weaknesses." And in that moment, I had an even deeper understanding of the level of suffering that's happening in the world right now, that someone would call compassion weakness, love weakness, unity weakness. The only way to counter that is to be its opposite. And the only way that you can be the opposite truly in a way that is completely authentic is to practice. The only way that unity becomes authentic within you is if that is what you practice. Compassion becomes authentic within you because that is what you practice. Love becomes authentic within you because that is what you practice. And then suddenly, because that is what you practice, there is an inner bliss that is empowered. And that inner bliss allows us to take right action and to look and to understand the depth of suffering, the source of suffering, and the path that leads from suffering to healing. And it doesn't happen overnight. And this is another thing that we see over and over again in the scriptural stories, in these leelas. We see this again and again and again. It's not one day. It's 1,000 years she was practicing. It's 1,000 years. So the other thing that Brahmacharini represents is the need to show up and do your own work consistently. No one else can do it for you, and it's not going to be overnight. So if you are one of those beautiful students who are so self-critical and you say to yourself, well, I've been practicing yoga for a year or 2 years or 20 years or 6 months or a week, how come I'm not there yet? Because it doesn't take a year, 6 years, a month, or a week. It takes a long time. It takes a long, long, long time. So don't be so driven by the end point. Because once you're there, there's not much else to do, I suppose, in some ways. But the journey there is where the change happens, not just for you, but for everyone else that you come into connection with. As they see you change, as they see you go from a caterpillar to a butterfly, as they see you go from angry to joyful, as they witness you move from, self-hatred or short-temperedness to love and to patience, then they're inspired. They're inspired to look as well. Not every single person's going to be inspired right away, but the ones that are in that moment will be. The ones that are, I don't want to say ready, because that gives kind of a, everything is according to karma. So it's the ones that are prime. It's like, it's their turn in line. It's their turn in line. Don't you want to be the one that walks them through? Isn't that an honor? To be able to empower your own good behavior and your own good intention so that you can be the one that in that moment you connect so deeply with another being that they open their eyes and their heart and they walk through. It's beautiful. And these are the teachings. This is what she brings to us. This is what Ma brings to us. Over and over and over again. Not one of her leelas is without. Every single one of these leelas is full, so full, that we could sit here and talk for many years, maybe 1,000, and we would still have more to say. Now, another thing that Brahmacharini illustrates for us is that, let's talk about her as a in a human form for a moment, and that she has come into this human form to alleviate the suffering of her beloved Shiva. And they have a love affair. They have been in love in her previous life. They will be in love again in this incarnation. She recognizes that in order for this love to supersede his suffering, she has to make sacrifices. She has to be the strong one. She has to be the one that constantly shows up, that constantly gets on the yoga mat, that constantly is doing her tapas to show your suffering and your sorrow will not diminish my love for you. Your suffering and your sorrow will not diminish my love for you. Your suffering and your sorrow, even your denial of me, will not diminish my love for you. Now imagine that. Imagine you're dating this guy and you are 100% convinced that you knew him in a previous life and that you were married and had 3 children and 2 dogs and a cat, and he's your eternal person. And here you are, you're dating this guy, and he goes into a meditation. He sits down in the middle of your living room and he starts to meditate, and he won't even look at you because he's in this deep, deep meditation, this state of some kind of grief. Don't associate meditation with grief. It's not, but in Shiva's instance, and so for the instance of this example, we'll use it too, that his grief and his suffering drove him into this state of being despondent. And that's actually the great word for it, into a state of despondency. And you walk past and you're like, can I get you something to eat? Can I bring you some water, tea, or coffee? Want a beer? What can I bring you? You turn on some music and you start dancing. You try to play, put a game in front of him. Come on, it's your favorite game. It's checkers. Let's go out for a walk. Let's take the dog out. Come on, let's call so-and-so on the phone. Let's go see this movie. You try and you try and you try and you try, but nothing is lifting this person out of their despondency. So eventually, as a human being, caught up in our own suffering, we might give up on them. We might give up on them. We might say, you're not giving me what I want, and I'm sick of trying. And then you walk away with zero resolution. And I'm giving the example of, you know, the guy being the despondent one, but it works the other way too. What Brahmacharini is telling us is that you must sacrifice for the sake of love. Does it mean you have to stay? No. But it does indicate that if you're going to leave, you got to do it in a certain way so that it doesn't add more weight on top of the already despondent. That whatever it is you decide to do, you got to do it with love. And you got to let them know this is with love. And even more, you got to mean it. But it won't be meaningful if we just think in our mind with our unhealthy ego that, oh yeah, totally, I could pull that off. I could say, yeah, I love you, but I'm out of here. You know? No. It wouldn't be authentic. You need to have the spiritual practices in place to cultivate the spiritual virtues that lead us into the deep capacity for love, so that whatever it is that you decide in a given moment is not decided based on your own rage or anger. It is based in the fact that you are a loving being. And that love is the essence of you. Hopefully that made some sense. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. I'm going to talk for a few more minutes, and then I'll take a look and see if there are any questions there that you would like to have, you know, addressed. But here we have Brahmacharini, and she's telling us that you got to do the work. You got to show up to do the work. The work is pretty much never ending. It's ongoing. You can't let the ongoing nature of the work diminish your capacity to actually do the work. Find joy in the work. Understand that this is the path. This is where this leads to. You know, nothing else is going to lead me here. Only this, only this. And she also promises us that through our sadhana, through our spiritual practice, we will find love. We will find the true meaning of love. And we will discover, we will reveal a higher love, a more integrated love, one that we can't even begin to imagine, maybe. And she says it all starts in your spiritual practice. And if we look at it too, we can even say it starts before that, right? Because she agreed to come here. And so in Brahmacharini's situation, her sacrifice started when she agreed to become incarnated. You know, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been up there, I don't think, but, you know, or out there or that I remember, but I'm pretty sure it's nice. You know, it's like peaceful. It's not a place you want to escape from, right? And so here she is, because of her love for Shiva. She says, well, I'll leave this place of peace, this place of joy, this place of of bliss, and I'll come back into the human form for you, because that's how much I love you. And that's what I will sacrifice for you. And then she also tells us that our work ethic matters, and that the understanding of purification matters also. That if we touch upon something with tainted hands, tainted mind, then the thing that we are touching will become tainted also to some degree, or it will at least appear to become tainted. So we need to be certain that we're doing things for reasons that are not tainted. Are we going to be perfect at it 100% of the time? Probably not. We're human. But the more that you inquire about your true motivation, the more you'll find that as you clean up those motivations, the journey itself is far more joyful. And the outcome, no matter what it is, has a tendency to be more okay, even if you don't get what you wanted. Because the motivation was pure, you will understand that you got what you needed, even if you don't understand why, at least right away. So we have a question. I want to know if he awoke to her after the 1,000 years, captivated by the story. Thank you so much. Yes. So that's a story. And here it is. So there's the Lord of love, the Lord of passion, and his name is Kama. And he is most profoundly known, according to some people anyway, by the Kama Sutra. So that this is the text on love, right? The text on love and on love making. And so at one point, either she goes to him or he goes to her, and he says, look, I have an idea how to speed this up a little bit. You're going to go so deep into your practice, you're going to do something that's just going to jolt him. And when he opens his eye, I'm going to shoot my arrow of love, and it will cause him to see you, to truly see you. But his eyes have to be open, and he has to be looking in your direction. Sounds like a great plan, right? Until you remember that incarnated Shiva's got some personality challenges, like anger. And he's got a third eye that is pretty powerful and can shoot a ray, the strongest ray that can destroy anything. So Brahmacharini gets set up. She's doing her tapas. You know, she's doing, and she's intensifying her practice in order to disturb him out of this state of meditation. And he goes to open one eye. It's almost like he knew what was about to happen, you know, because like out of all these thousands of years, why right then? But he opens one eye. And in that moment, Kama takes his arrow and shoots it. And he hits Shiva. And Shiva turns to him, very angry, opens his third eye and burns him. Does him in. That's the end of Lord Kama, which also means it is the end of passion, the end of sex, the end of human love, the end of mating rituals. It's the end of romance. It's the end of all of that. So Kama's wife comes forward and she says to Shiva, shame on you. How could you do this to my husband? He goes around helping people fall in love. He goes around supporting people being happy. And this is what you've done to him. You put him back. And he's very angry. So he's like, no, I won't. And again, different parts of India, the story is a little bit different. But basically, the world begins to become very dark with no love. And the people begin to cry. And they come together and they go to Shiva and they say, you have violated ahimsa. In your anger, you have taken from us the one thing that matters the most, our capacity to love one another. So you put him back. You do the right thing. That's your penance. So that we can have the opportunity to have more than just dark suffering. Shiva sees the error of his ways and he brings Kama back. And the story continues. And again, I know there are many people here with us tonight and there are variations to that story. So please know that I am aware of that. And that is the one that I have chosen to tell today. So let's see. Let's chant for a moment. And actually, we do have one more comment here. Let me just see. This reminds me of how I have come out of my comfort zone to do the work in my spiritual practice. Yeah, thanks. It's easy to stay in material bliss. Yes, it sure is, isn't it? It's very easy. It's so easy to stay in material bliss because you can see it. Like, I can see this mug. You might not be able to see if I move it over here, but I can see this mug of tea, and we could say that this tea is bringing me some happiness. I can see it, I can taste it, I can smell it, I can feel it. I can even hear it, you know, when I'm drinking it or when it's steaming, maybe I hear a little bit of the steam. And so it's very sensory oriented. Your spiritual practice and the benefit that you get from your spiritual practice is not so sensory oriented. I mean, the practice itself might be doing your pranayama and your yoga asana and your meditation, at least the concentration parts of it. You're still very much in touch with the sensory input, but the outcome, the cup of tea isn't there. So how do I identify? How do I become connected to that which I cannot see? How do I become faithful to that which only I can feel? No one else can feel, not quite the same. No one can see what I'm feeling. And they might even say, you're too happy, you're crazy. It's difficult. It's difficult to allow ourselves to become faithfully reliant on that which is not dependent upon the five senses or the material world. But if we really want freedom, if we truly want liberation or moksha, we must at least learn somehow, some amount. Some teachers talk about you must do it all. You will do it all. Eventually, we all will. But in this life, in this moment, can you just do some? Can you improve your life and your well-being this much so that you are inspired to continue to improve it more and more and more? Can we accept the smaller victories and continue to compile them until we get the great victory? Because that's really how it happens for most people anyway, is that it's a gradual process. The process of letting go is gradual. The process of awakening is gradual. The process of acquiring wisdom is gradual. The process of understanding intuitively is gradual for most people. So let's not say I have to have it all by tomorrow. Let's learn first how to exist in this sensory world with a little bit less dependence, and how to open our hearts to the essence of the ethereal world with a little bit more faith and see what happens. Any other questions or comments or reflections? I'm going to look onto Facebook very quickly and see. Hello, everyone on Facebook. Good to see you all. Okay. All right, wonderful. Let's do a short meditation or concentration practice. Let's do a short concentration practice. So sitting up nice and tall, both feet on the floor, forearms resting in the lap, eyes closed or at a soft, soft gaze. And once again, come to focusing on the breath in and the breath out. The breath in, you are receiving the wisdom of the mother, of Brahmacharini, of Shailaputri, of Durga Ma, of all the names. And breathing out, you are living that wisdom, expressing it, discovering it. Breathing in, you breathe in the love of the mother, the love of Brahmacharini, of Shailaputri, of Durga Ma, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Kali Ma, all of them. And breathing out, you express that love, you share that love. You offer that love to every being on this world and in all the worlds. Breathing in, you surrender. And breathing out, you surrender. And join me, if you like. Om Devi Brahmacharini Namaha. 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 Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you all so much for being here this evening and for being here and for taking part in this talk. And if you have any questions later that you would like to ask, feel free to put them into the chat here, or you can message myself or Devi or Jyoti Ma on Facebook. And I will turn it back over to Jyoti now. Many blessings to you all.
Yeah, that's really good. I turn it over to Davy to share more about Ma.
And Davy needs to unmute herself.
Ah! Technology. Dun, 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 dun. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Pranams to you all. So the topic of this particular talk is going to be a particular Stotram hymn, song would be a decent translation of the word Stotram, to Mahishasura Mardini. Now that's a mouthful. So let's break that down. What is it? What exactly does that mean? Mahisha is buffalo. We'll go with. I'm not going to go into a full Sanskrit lesson because we'll be here for hours, and you'll probably jump ship within 15 minutes. So we'll keep it short like that. If you make 15 minutes, I wouldn't blame you. After a while, you start to your head starts to become like a newborn baby. You're just kind of like. So Mahishasura is the demon, the buffalo demon. Mahishasura Mardini is she who slayed the buffalo demon. So who is she? It's she with a capital S. It is super. Could have it on her chest. Her name is Durga. We've been talking about her now for 2 days. And it's another name of hers. And the whole story, see if I can pull it back, is once upon a time, long, long ago, start the scroll now, we're going to why he was born, and then we'll go into what happened. There were 2 brothers, 2 demons, who decided that they wanted to gain boons. Everything starts with somebody who probably shouldn't be getting a boon, gaining a boon. and I think both Swamini and Jyotima mentioned this yesterday. You know, to 2 people who shouldn't have powers getting powers. And that's what happened here. You had 2 demons who, and when we say demons, I want to clarify, I'm not talking about like pitchforks and horns. These are the negative internal qualities that we have within all of us. A lot of this is allegorical. So when we say demons, we're not talking about anything like that. Not in the Judeo-Christian sense. It's a very different mindset. So when I say asuras or demons, just think negative human qualities. And when I say devas, it's positive human qualities. Positive meaning that which attracts or brings us to our true self versus that which keeps us mired in grief and sorrow and division. Okay, so moving forward. So 2 brothers on the riverbank decide to do tapas or sadhana or vows to gain great power. Now Indra, who is the god of heaven, can also be considered the positive
aspect of the ego, the one that does want to do better, that wants to be better, but occasionally fails. He sees this and he goes, oh, this isn't good. They're going to usurp me if they get these powers. So he decides to try and kill them. Well, he got one brother, didn't get the other one. Ever tried to fix a situation and just end up making it worse? That's what happened here. He was able to kill one brother, but the other one was still alive, and he ended up on a hell-bent for vengeance because he got his boon, which gave him incredible powers. However, one of the boons wasn't immortality. It was just great, great physical strength. So he ended up wanting a son. So what does he do? He starts looking around for a mate. And he finds this female buffalo. He finds her the most alluring thing he's ever seen. She is absolutely captivating. He turns himself into a buffalo and he marries her. I know it sounds silly. Go with me. Come with me on this journey. And they have a son, Mahishasura Mardini. Mahishasura. Mardini comes later. And Mahishasura also goes and gets a boon. This is to become ruler of all three worlds. So that's the nether regions, earth, and the heavens. And having been fed on his father's poison, the first thing he goes for is Indra. You know, he gets that boon from Brahma, who will give anybody a boon. He gives us all a chance to do the right thing by it. So nobody is cast aside. There's no judgment. He'll just go, yeah, sure, you can have it, take it. Do the right thing by it. Most people don't. Or we wouldn't have these stories. And so the first thing he does is he goes and he disposes Indra from his place in heaven, and he just wreaks havoc in all the three worlds. Now here are all the gods disposed of their natural placements, and they start to cry out as one would. You know, if somebody comes and like kicks you out of your house, you'd be a little upset. So they go to the Tridevas, the Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and Brahma's like, I gave the boon, my job's done. And Vishnu and Shiva did try to defeat Mahishasura, but he had gotten the boon from Brahma that he could not be conquered by any man or any animal. So what does that leave us? A lady. So the Tridevas got together, and within their circle, a great light started to shine. And from this light came the most beautiful woman you had ever seen. No one in the three worlds had ever seen anything like her. Beatific smile, in a red sari, shining with the strength, valor, and compassion of all of womankind, of all of nature, of all of creation. Just imagine that for a second. Like, just take a second to think about that. Can you imagine the majesty of it? I can't think of another word about that to describe that. Just the sheer awe-inspiring majesty. It took 3 gods to create one woman. So, but the 3 gods, you think, they give her their energy and they're kaput. That's not technically true. There is something called the Tattva Gyanas. We're going to go a little off-roading for a second, and so stick with me here. And it explains how, from the Shaktiya, the people who worship Shakti, or even Shaivites, the people who worship Shiva's point of view, of how matter descends from divinity. So first you have Sadashiva. There, it's just full potential. It doesn't move, it's inert, it doesn't really do anything. And then here comes Shakti. And Shakti is dynamic. All she does is move. She is the energy that moves all of us. There is nothing that is not her. She gave birth to all of creation. So if you think of Sadashiva or Shiva as the foundation, and then Shakti comes in and builds everything up, every planet, every star, every bug, every molecule of the universe is her creation. And it's one of my favorite things to say is that because we are all born from Shakti, we are all females before God. There is nothing that's not her. And do that to people with toxic masculinity and just watch them like self-implode. It's kind of funny. Sorry, I digress. So when the gods created her, what they were giving her to create her was not of themselves. They were giving their Shakti, their energy, to create her. So that way she would embody the best of all of them. And then Indra also gave, and Varuna, and all the Vedic gods, you know, Agni, fire, Varuna, water, so on and so forth, for this one beautiful woman who would go on to captivate the hearts of billions and trillions of people in the centuries to come. And then they gave her weapons because she was going into battle. And they all gave her the Shakti version of theirs. So a bell to confuse the enemies, and a trishul, a trident, and arrows. And these all have different meanings. Like the arrows and the bows are, the arrows are mantras. The sword is the sword of discrimination, the bell of continuous tone, so on and so forth. The goad of anger. These are all weapons we have in our own personal arsenal to help defeat these negative qualities within us. Because what she's doing is she's riding into battle to help defeat the negative qualities within us so we can merge with her. We can become her. What an amazing thing that is. Do you know anybody who would stand up for you like that? You are besieged by, let's say it's an old-fashioned kung fu movie, one of those really old silly ones. You know, they're campy and they're silly, but they're fantastic in their own right. And all the bad guys come at the good guy and he manages to fight them all off. Do you know anybody who would jump in and fight with you? She will. She will. Because that's what she was created for. That's what we needed her for. And I don't want to make her sound like she's bloodthirsty, because that's not true. In the Mahishasura Mardini Stotram, there's a part where the Asura's wives run to her and ask for sharanam. They ask for shelter. They ask for refuge. And she gives it just like that, because they asked. They bowed down to her, acknowledged that they had behaved incorrectly. And because of that penitence, she said, no problem. You are now my children. You come. And even within the story of this, she gave these demons, these asuras, every opportunity to turn from their wicked path. And they insisted. which left her no choice but to go to battle with them. She is first and foremost a mother, with all the love and compassion of a mother. And I know some people might have a hard time with that concept. Not everybody has a great relationship with their mother. I'm not talking about a human mother. I'm talking about the quality of motherhood. You know, unfortunately, as humans, we fail each other. We do it all the time. You know, we're bad-tempered, we're short-sighted, we're selfish, blah, blah, blah. And so because of these inabilities to see each other as divine, we fail. We fail our relationships. And before anybody feels bad, it was created to be that way. Well, why would it be created that way? What an awful thing. That sounds terrible. How else are we going to know to move forward? How else are we going to know to move towards the light if there's no dark? Everything serves a purpose. Everything. That person who cut you off served a purpose. That other person who wrote mean things about you on Facebook while they were going to the bathroom, you know, that has a purpose. It all has a purpose. It's not just the things that we'd like. Because like we like to hear nice things and we like to have nice relationships and we don't like conflict. But if we don't have conflict, how could there not be growth? Can you imagine for a second the pain of a seed as it grows? Just think about it for a second. It's this tiny little thing, you know, some of them are very, very small. But within that is the genetic code to become a gigantic tree. You know, you have those oak trees that are so, so, so tall and round. And I mean, like, you can't even get your arms around them. You need a couple people to actually get through around the circumference of it. But it started off as a tiny acorn. And then it had to break through that shell and push through the dirt until it could finally reach the sun. And it never for a minute said, oh, this hurts. I'm not doing this. Forget this. I'm just going to go to mush. I can't be bothered. You know, oh, my favorite TV show is on, or you know what? I think I want a piece of pie. I'm not going to break through the seed. It's fine. No, it did what it needed to do. It followed its natural course. And our natural course is to seek the divine. It's coded within our genetics as well. Every single bit of it. You know, why do you think we were given as humans such a curious nature? The constant desire to ask why. What is this? Why does this work that way? Why can't I be like that? All these questions. It's so that we can eventually realize our divine nature. So we can eventually bow down to the mother and go, I don't know. I have no idea what's going on. And I need you to come and rid me of these negative influences. Please come to me. And she'll come. She'll come. What mother doesn't come when their child cries? Who? Even the gentleman, because the principle of motherhood, it isn't limited to women. It's a universal principle that anybody can have. Women just naturally reflect it more. But you know, any parent whose child cries, what's the first thing you do? Ooh, are you okay? What's wrong? But you have to continue. You can't just like cry once and then go, psych, I'm all right. I'm going to go outside and play. It has to be a continuous call. a continuous, sincere call. And there's so much to get in the way. And it may seem at times hopeless because, you know, it's this comes up and that comes up and this comes up. And that's why we have tools. That's why we have tools. Meditation, asana, mantra, karma yoga, the act of actively, you like that? Copywritten. Karma yoga, where we constantly offer everything we do to the feet of the divine. I am going to cook this food just for you. I am going to clean my bathroom just for you. There's no, you know, like we make it this big deal of it's 6 o'clock. It's time for me to talk to the divine. And then I'm going to go have my dinner, watch TV and go to bed. That's also important. Consistency is important. You know, making a schedule with the divine and sitting with them is important. You know, if you made a schedule to meet your friend at 8 for dinner and you came late constantly or you never showed up, how long do you think you'd be friends? I know mine would ditch me in a heartbeat. Oh, they'd be mad. They'd be hopping mad. So definitely, you know, make challenges for yourself. Certainly set up a specific time, but the other times are good times too. Oh, but I'm really busy. Got a lot going on. I understand that. That's great. You know, everybody needs to be doing things, and I hope it's all going successfully. What are you doing when you're walking to the bathroom? Chant your mantra. What are you doing while you're going to the bathroom? Chant your mantra. What are you doing while you're driving the car? Chant your mantra. It's all is a good opportunity to talk to the divine. So I went a little off track, or as I call it, mentally off-roading. So Durga goes into battle. And a glorious battle it is. And she, actually, let me share screens because, share screens. Can you believe English is my mother tongue? By the way I talk. Let me see if I can find it. Not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. Where are you? I want to show all windows. No. No, apparently not. I can't find it. What I was going to do was try to show a slideshow. There it is. And that's for later. I don't want that. I want, there it is. Just everybody can see my screen? Yep, cool. So, like I said, this is very allegorical. So let's take a look at the different things that Durga went to go to battle against. And this is on shrima.org. There's a lot of great information. This is under sadhana presentations. And if you want the specific link, I can send that to you. That's not a problem. But they have a lot of great things here that you can take a look at. And this is one of my favorites. I like to look through this every once in a while. So we have every single asura that has ever gone to battle against Durga. Their names, what they mean. So the first ones were Madhu and Kaitaba. Too much and too little. We have too much of one thing, so we get rid of it. Oh, but wait, now we need more, so we don't have enough, so we get more. It's this constant balance of trying to find equanimity within our material and mental and emotional. Then Chikashura, devoid of clear understanding. Chamara, fickleness. Udagra, haughtiness. And I won't go into too much detail of reflection, because part of this is practical. We are going to try to chant the Mahishasura Mardini Stotram. But I just wanted to bring this to your attention. This is out there, and it's a great, great tool. Other things. Mahahanu, great deceiver. Asiloma, want of resolution. Bakshalo, memories. Parivarita, wandering to and fro. Doesn't the mind do that? Wanders to and fro. Goes here, it goes there. You're trying to concentrate on the Divine Mother's holy feet as in your meditation, and then, I wonder if I should have called that person, or, oh, I forgot to do this, or I wonder what's in the movie theaters right now. And then hypocrisy, vidala, karala, disbelief. I'm sure these all look familiar. We have all done these at one point in time. Arrogance, anxiety, blindness, not physical blindness, but more of a mental blindness, an emotional blindness. Violent temper, passion, irresistible temptation, foul mouth, self-conceit, self-depreciation or deprecation. I can read. Passion, anger. He who appears to be a friend. Isn't that our own mind? When the ego is in control, when we're under that deluding power of Maya, doesn't our own mind appear to be a friend? But then it tells us that we're awful when we're not. And it tells us we're great when we're not. It tells us that we're everything but what we are, which is the divine self. And then sinful eyes, that which looks on things, that which covets. That which covets, it looks on everything and it wants what you have. Plunderers of peace. Without restraint. Rakta Bija, seed of desire. That's another one that's a doozy, isn't it? Can you remember all the desires that you had in the past 3 hours? They pop up. They don't stop. It doesn't matter how often it gets satiated. There's always another one to take its place. And the only way to get rid of it is to ask the mother to remove her Shakti, remove her energy from it, so you have no more desires. And then there's agitated awareness. It's certainly something that resonates today. I don't know anybody who isn't slightly anxious. Perplexity. And that's who she's going to battle against. And I know looking at that, you can go, oh my God, I have all these things. Is there any hope? Of course there's hope. There's always hope. We have shining beacons of hope that walk among us every day in the form of Mahatmas who have done exactly what we're striving to do. These pillars of humanity that say, I did it. you can too. Use all the weapons that Durga has in her arsenal, and you can be like me. You can be free of sadness. You can be free of anger, lust, greed. You can be free of all of these things. Your life could be everyday joy, every day of every moment, joy, absolute joy. And thank goodness for them to show us the way. So, now what I just described is actually called the Chandi. And it is the story, the full story, 700 stanzas of Durga, her birth, and how she went to battle. Now, the Chandi is incredibly powerful. It's an incredibly powerful scripture, and it's chanted. It takes about 2.5, 3 hours, depending on how quickly you chant. Because it was so powerful, safeguards were put around it to make sure that it wasn't misused. Because, of course, like anything, if there's a safeguard for it or if there's a lock, it's because somebody came in and used it incorrectly. So, and as many things were long time ago, it was only kept to a very small population of learned people. So basically, we'll say the priest caste. It was basically, and only a small percentage of the priest caste actually had access to the Chandi. So along came about, oh God, I don't do math. So around the 8th century, Adi Shankaracharya was born. And let me share my screen again. There we go. Let's get up to the part. All righty. And this is him right there. He was known to be an incarnation of Shiva. And he was amazingly prolific. He only lived to be about 30. And he wrote all these Vedantic teachings. Vedantic being, there is but one God. There's one point, there's one God. And usually it's God without qualities, Nirguna Brahman. Whereas like Durga would be considered Satguna Brahman, that with qualities. God, a God that we can see and conceptualize rather than an energy. And one of the wonderful things that Adi Shankaracharya did was he went through and he made a lot of things accessible for the layman. And Mahishasura Mardini Stotram was one of them. He took the Chandipat and took all the Bij mantras from it, all the seed syllables. A Bij mantra is the closest sounding syllable to the thing you're trying to describe. So I'm trying to think of an example. The quality of abundance is Shrim, S-H-R long I-M, Anuswara. Shrim, that is the quality of abundance. And it belongs to Lakshmi, as it would. And when you chant Shrim, you're calling upon abundance. in this case, the example that I think it's here. Yes, it's the example is Ra, R-A, and it's the bij for fire. It's the closest sounding. It's the closest sound to the actual vibration of fire. So imagine I'm sorry, I was just a moment thinking about like what a genius he was. That he was able to find all of them in 700 verses and take them and condense them down to 21 to give you an idea of what a labor that was. So this way the layperson can still access the potency of the Chandi for their own spiritual benefit. One of my favorite things about this stotram is, unlike a lot of others, a lot of stotrams and stutis and whatnot, you are talking to the Divine Mother in first person form. It conveys a sense of extreme intimacy. You know her better than you know your own breath. That's how you call on her. And it's words like "ai" and "hey." So like the closest thing I could give an example for was in Spanish, you say "tú" when you're addressing somebody who you know very well, rather than "usted," which is a little more respectful. And so here, she's your own. She is your own mother, and you're addressing her as such. Some fun facts about the Chandi. It is 21 verses versus 700. It takes about, once you get the hang of it, it'll take about 10 minutes to chant. It is done in Shravana Bharanam verse in prose, which translates to an earring. There are 4 lines to each pada or verse. Total of 92 syllables with a repeating pattern of 23 syllables. So 3 short or lagu syllables in the beginning, followed by a guru or heavy syllable, and then sandwiched between lagu short syllables. And this is in every pada, in every verse, the last line repeats. And it is Jaya Jaya Hey, Mahishasura Mardini, Brahmacharini Stotram. 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 And I'm looking at the time, and so let's try to chant this. I'm going to switch to I want to share that one. Yes, Mom, I want to share that one. Okay, you go away. I know you can't see what I'm pushing at. Okay, is that clear? Can everybody see that? Do I need to make it bigger? Is good? Okay, bigger? Okay. Let's see. Better? Excellent, all right. So let me make this go away so I can have controls. There we go. And let me get my drone going so I don't go out of tune and shatter anybody's glasses. And we'll go slow. Ai Giri Nandini Nandita Medini Vishwa Vinodini Nandanute Girivaravinya Shirodini Vasini Vishnu Vilasini Jishnunute
Bhagavate Shiti Kanda Kutumbine Buri Kutumbine Buri Krite Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramyakapadini Shelasute Suravaravashini Dudharadarshini Urmukhamashini Hasharate Dribhuvana Poshini Shankaratoshini Karmashamoshini Gosharate Danujani Roshini Dite Sotaroshini Turmadasoshini Sindhusute Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramyakapadini Shelasute Ai Jagadamba Madamba Kadamba Vana Priyavasini Hasarate Shikari Shiromani Tunga Himalaya Shringani Jalaya Madhyagate Madhu Madhure Madhu Kaita Bhavanjini Rasarate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramyakapadini Shelasute Ai Shatakhanda Vakandita Runda Vikundita Shunda Gajadipate Ripu Gajaganda Vira Prachanda Para Brahmashunda Mrigadipate Bhuja Bhuja Danda Nipatita Chanda Nipatita Bunda Bata Dipate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramyakapadini Shelasute Airana Duramada Shatru Badhodita Udara Nijara Shakti Brite Chatura Vichara Durina Mahashiva Duta Krita Pramata Dhipate Durita Duriha Durashaya Dumata Danavaduta Kritanta Mate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramyakapadini Shelasute Ai Sharana Gata Vairivadhuvara Viravara Bhaya Daikare Tripuvana Mastaka Shula Virodi Shirodi Kritamala Shula Kare Dumi Dumi Tamara Dundu Vinadamo Mukare Kritadini Kare Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramyakapadini Shelasute Dhanuranu Shankarana. Sorry, try that again. The dog just bumped my computer. Aini Jahum Kriti Matra Nira Krita Dumra Vilochana Dumra Sate Samara Vishoshita Shonita Bija Samud Bhava Shonita Bija Late Shiva Shiva Shumbhani Shumba Mahavata Pita Bhuta Pishachapate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Ramyakapadini Shelasute Danuranu Shangarana Shana Sanga Parispura Danga Rata Katake Dhana Kapi Shanga Prishatani Shanga Prasada Batu Shringa Hata Batuke Krita Chaturanga Balang Shitiranga Gata Bauranga
Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Stotram Sura la la na tattato 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 dinayo taranrityarate Krita kukuta kukutonga dadadik halakatu halaganarate Dudukuta dukuta dhimi dhimi dadtvani dhira mridang ninadarate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Stotram Jaya Jaya Japya Jaya Jaya Shabda Parastuti Tat Paraveshvanute Jana Jana Jim Jimmy Jim Kritanupura Jita Mohita Bhuta Pate Natita Nata Narati Natanayak Natita Natya Suna Narate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Stotram Ai Sumana 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 Sumano Harakandiyute Shrita Rajani 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 Karavakrayute Sunayana vi Brahmara 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 Dhipate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Stotram Mahita Mahahava Mallamatallika Ballitarallaka Ballirate Virachita Vallika Pallika Mallika Chillika Bhillika Gargavrite Sita Krita Pula Samula Sitaruna Talla Chapalla Vasalalite Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Stotram Avirala Ganda Galan Madamendura Matta Matanga Jarajapate Tribhuvana Bhushana Bhutakala Nidhi Rupapayo Nidhi Rajasute Ai Sudati Janalala Samara Samona Manmatarajasute Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Stotram Kamala Dala Mala Komala Kantikala Kalita Mala Bhalatale Sakala Vilasa Bhala Nilaya Krama Kele Chelat Kalaham Sakule Alikula Sangula Kuraya Mandal Mauli Milan Bakula Likule Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Stotram Kalamurali Rava Vijita Pujita Lajita Kokila Manjumate Nilita Pulinda Manohara Gunjita Ranjita Shelani Gunjagate Nija Guna Bhuta Mahashabare Gana Sadguna Samvrita Kelirate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Stotram Katitata Pita Dukula Vichitra Mayu Khatiras
Rita Chandra Ruche Pranata Sura Sura Mali Mani Spura Damshula Sannaka Chandra Ruche Jitta Kanaka Chala Mauli Madhu Jita Nirbhara Kunjara Kumbhakuche Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Shelasute Vijita Sahasra Kareka Sahasra Kareka Sahasra Kareka Nute Krita Surataraka Sangarataraka Sangarataraka Sunusute Surata Samadhi Samana Samadhi 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 Sujatarate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Shelasute Pada Kamalam Karuna Nilaye Varivasyatiyo Nudinam Sushive Hai Kamale Kamala Nilaye Kamala Nilaya Sakatam Nabhave Avaparame Vaparam Parametyanushilaya Mama Kimna Shive Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Shelasute Dhanakala Satkala Sindhu Jalerannu Shinchati Te Gunaranga Bhuvam Bhajati Sakimna Sakchi Kunta Kumbhatati Pariramba Sukhanyubhavam Tava Charanam Sharanam Garavani Mridani Sadamai Deyi Shivam Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Shelasute Bhava Vimalandukulam Vadanandumalam Sakalam Danukulayate Imukuru Tupurendu Mukhi Sumukhi Virasa Vimukhi Kriyate Mama Tumatam Shivanam Bhavati Kripaya Kimuta Kriyate Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Shelasute Ai Mati Dina Dayalu Tvaya Kripayeva Tvaya Bhavita Vyamume Ai Jagatu Janani Kripaya Seyatasi Tatanimita Sirame Yaruchita Matya Bhavaturari Kurata Durata Kama Pakurume Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Shelasute Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Shelasute Jaya Jaya He Mahishasura Mardini Brahmacharini Shelasute. So, this brings me to the end of the talk on Mahishasura Mardini Stotram. What questions do you have for me, if any? Don't be shy.
Mira has her hand raised. She has a question.
Mira, yes.
Yes, so Mira, you can unmute yourself to ask your question.
Because I can't unmute you, Mira. I'm so sorry.
I think I think it happened.
Okay.
I wondered what language this is.
It's Sanskrit.
Okay. Thank
Yes,
you.
I didn't mention that, did I? It's all Sanskrit. It's the genius of Adi Shankaracharya. He took something very complicated and put it into Sanskrit, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful thing to chant ever since.
And it's on which website was it again?
The actual chant, if you want to email me, I can send that to you. What I just presented, I'm happy to send that to you. The particular version that we did is sung in Kerala. There are two versions. There's one that's done up north, and there's one that's specific to Kerala, and that's the one that I did.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Amazing.
She is, isn't she? Any other questions? It can be about this. It can be about the Homa that I did. Any questions that you have at all, please feel free.
Saraswati Rosenberg posted, she said, please can you send the chant to everyone or give us a website where we can find it? I've chanted this with Sri Karunamai, who does a beautiful version. Ah, there you go. There you go. Beautiful.
Literally, and it's, I can send people the presentation too, because I have a couple of references. Let me see if I can.
Do we want to put it up on the Facebook page?
Yes, thank you. That's a great idea. What a great idea.
So Devi will post that on the Facebook page, and she'll make or she'll post the recording there also that she has. I'm pretty sure that she'll be able to do that. And for those of you who would like her contact information, it's up here on the screen now, dianadevikirtan@gmail.com. And she also has her Facebook page, which is /DEVIKIRTAN.
Yeah, and please reach out. Don't be shy. I'm always happy to answer questions, or even if you just want to say, hey, how are you? I'm doing great. I would love to hear that too. That's all absolutely welcome. But yeah, the book, the specific book, the Stotram, A Spiritual Commentary, is the only book that I've been able to find in English on this. I've not been able to find anything, and I've been looking for years. So anything that I have, I've been saying I've either gotten from my own Guru Amma or Sri Ma. Those are my two references. Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? If not, I will hand it back over to Jyoti Ma. Thank you so much for your time, listening to me talk, going mentally off-roading with me. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. Namah Shivaya.
Namah Shivaya, Devi. Thank you so much. So beautiful to share that beautiful, beautiful song with you. Thank you. Jai Ma.
I don't know about you, but I feel like tonight has just been so incredibly amazing. The storytelling has just been phenomenal. I keep on finding myself stuck in into these beautiful stories that are being shared. And yes, and Devi, oh my gosh, I would like that presentation too. I feel like I've chanted that before, not in this life, but it spoke very much to me. Jai Ma, absolutely. And someone just said my pronunciation needs work, and I got a lot of chanting that. Yes, I know. For all of us, our pronunciation. But I think that Devi presented it in such a way that I think that when we take this home, we're going to be able to practice easily and then listening to recordings. So Devi, thank you so much. So we're going to continue with beautiful music. Rene Sunbird from Austria, I mentioned yesterday, she was going to see whether or not there's any way she could join us live, but it is right now going on 3 a.m. there. So she made a beautiful video for us. But first, let me tell you a little bit about her. So Rene Sunbird, I've been following her for years. She's an amazing kirtanwala, and she's very unique for me because she plays with a ukulele. I heard her play on a harmonium as well, but it's just so like gentle and soft, and she's so captivating. She was first introduced to yoga by her father, And some years later, she studied Sanskrit and philosophy at the University of Vienna and started to practice Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga. She went to India several times to deepen her yoga practice and fell in love with Indian music, mantra, and bhajan singing. And Rene is mother of 2 girls. She plays and fools around with them on the playground, in the class, or in the tram. And she dreams about finding some time to read a book, sit in silence, silent meditation, or find a moment to be quiet, like many moms can relate to. She loves to drink matcha out of beautiful handmade mugs, compose music late in the night, and dive deep into the philosophy of yoga and life. And when playing live, Rene accompanies herself on ukulele or sansula, and her husband Boris plays on the harmonium. Mantras are a tool for the mind. They guide us to a place within us where we can experience a sense of peace and silence. And when we start chanting mantras, we can enter a deep state of meditation and feel who we really are. You can learn more about Rene Sunbird and also hear Kirtan on her website too, and follow her on YouTube. Her website is renesunbird.com. So I'm going to share my screen now, and we're going to enjoy some Kirtan. This is Rene and her husband Boris.
Jyoti, we have no sound. Jyoti, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay.
We have no sound.
Sound is important. Especially with Kirtan, you have to have the sound. So how do we do this?
So if you stop sharing, and then
Okay.
go to share it again in the lower left-hand corner, there should be a click for use internal speakers.
Got it. Thank you so much. You're welcome. Technology. Okay.
Om Gange Chayamune Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Namastubhyam Namo Namah Om Gange Chayamune Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Namastubhyam Namo Namah Ganga ki jai jai Yamuna ki jai jai Ganga ki jai jai Yamuna ki jai jai Ganga ki jai jai Yamuna ki jai jai Ganga ki jai Yamuna ki jai jai Shiva Shankara ki jai jai Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai Ganga ki jai jai Yamuna ki jai jai Ganga ki jai jai Yamuna ki jai jai Ganga ki jai jai Yamuna ki jai jai Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
I am the water of the river and streams, powerful grace that flows with ease. I am the peace of the stars and moon, the sound of harmony in every tune, the spirit of fire in your soul, love of compassion for all. I am the light glowing on your skin, eternal beauty deep within. I am the water of the river and streams, powerful grace that flows with ease. I am the peace of the stars and moon, the sound of harmony in every tune, the spirit of fire in your soul, love of compassion for all. I am the light glowing on your skin, eternal beauty deep within. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai,
Ganga ki jai jai,
Yamuna ki jai jai.
Yamuna ki jai jai. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai,
Ganga ki jai jai,
Yamuna ki jai jai.
Yamuna ki jai jai. Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna 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 ki jai jai.
Yamuna ki jai jai. Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai. Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara ki jai jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna 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 ki jai jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva
Shakti Shiva Shankara Ki Jai Jai.
Ganga ki jai jai, Yamuna 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 Ki Jai Jai.
Kailasha Shakti Shiva Shankara 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 Ki Jai Jai.
Om Gange Chayamune Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Namastubhyam Namo Namah. Om Gange
Chayamune Chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Namastubhyam Namo Namah.
Namastubhyam Namo Namah.
Namastubhyam Namo Namah.
Om Tare Tu Re Swaha.
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 tu re swaha.
Om tare 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 tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha. Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha.
Om tare tu re swaha.
I hear time flies faster than the wind, and love can conquer anything. I hear light is everything we see, and to joy silence is the key. All the wisdom, all we know, and running slow. They come and go, they come and go. Chasing possibilities to nowhere, everything disappears into thin air. Chasing dreams until the end of time, we become invisible when we shine. We become invisible when we shine. All the wisdom, all we know. Raindrops on our window, running fast and running slow. They come and go, they come and go. All the wisdom, all we know. Raindrops on our window, running fast and running slow. They come and go, they come and go. Durge, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Durga, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Kali, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Kali, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Durge, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Durga, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Kali, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Kali, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Durge, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Durga, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Kali, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Kali, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Jaya, Jaya, Jagadambe, 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 Jai Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, 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 Jai Ma,
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma,
Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma,
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma,
Jai Ma, Jai Ma.
Jai Ma, Jai Jai Ma.
Jai Ma,
Jai Ma,
Jai Jai Ma.
Devi Sureshwari Bhagavati Gange Tribhuvana Tarini Tarala Tarange Shankara Mauli Viharini Vimale Mama Matirastam Tava Padakamale Bhagirati Sukadayini Mata Tava Jala Mahima Nigame Khyata Naham Jane Tava Mahimanam Pahi Kripa Mahimama Jnanam Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah Om
Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Haripada Padya Tarangini Gange Himavidu Mukta Davala Tarange Duri Kuru Mama
Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Patito Darini Janavi Gange. Kandita Girivara Mandita Pange. Bhishma Janani He Munivara Kanye. Patita Nivarini Tribhuvana Danye. Kalpalatamiva Paladam Loke. Pranamati Asvam Napatati Shoke. Paravara Viharini Gange. Vimukha Yuvati Krita Tarala Pange. Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
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 Tavachan Mata Srota Snata. Punarapi Jatare Sopina Jata. Narakani Varini Janavi Gange. Kalusha Vinashini Mahi Mutunge. Punarasadang Punya Tarange. Jaya Jaya Janavi Karuna Pange. Indra Mukuta Manirajita Charane. Sukade Shubhade Britya Sharanye. Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
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 Rogam Shokam Tapam Papam. Harame Bhagavati Kumati Kalapam. Tribhuvana Sare Vasudhare. Tvamasi Gatir Mama Kalu Sansare. Alakanande Paramanande. Guru Karuna Mahikatara Vandye. Tavatata Nikate Yasya Nivasa. Kalu Vaikunte Tasya Nivasa. Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
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 Baramihani Rekama Domina. Kimbati Re Sharatakshi. Devi Dravamai Munivarakanye Ganga Stavami Mamalam Nityam Patati Naroya Jayati Satyam Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah Om
Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Yesham Hridaye Ganga Bhakti Tesham Bhavati Sana Sukhamukti Madhura Kanta Bhajati Kavi Paramananda Kalita Lalitavi Ganga Stotram Midam Bhavasaram Vanchita Paladam Vimalam Saram Shankara Sevaka Shankara Rachitam Vatati Sukhi Stavaiti Cha Samata Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah
Om Shuddhidatri Ganga Mata Namo Namah.
Arms are embracing the dark secretly holding on to the past. You're quietly standing, waiting for the moment to shine. And the ice keeps falling, falling down into the sea as the wind whistles and the tears keep rolling, rolling down as you hope someone would listen. Your feet are always on the run, scared of the path they are on, moving away and moving to always something better, something new. And the ice keeps falling, falling ice keeps falling, falling down into the sea as the wind whistles and the tears keep rolling, rolling down as you hope someone will listen, and the ice keeps falling, falling down into the sea as the wind whistles and the tears keep rolling, rolling down as you hope someone would listen. Umasatuma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Masatuma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Masatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Masatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om conduis-moi par l'irréel au réel, par l'obscurité à la lumière, conduis-moi par la mort à l'immortalité, à l'immortalité. Conduis-moi par l'irréel au réel, par l'obscurité à la lumière, conduis-moi par la mort à l'immortalité, à l'immortalité. Om Masatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Masatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Masatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om Masatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Om. inside your shell, waiting for the perfect wave to come and wish you well. Precious treasures hidden deep in the ocean, only to be found with a heart wide open. Dive, dive deep, deep into the blue. Close your eyes and dive deep into the blue. Close your eyes and dive deep into the blue. Facing fears and fighting demons, you arrive at the point of no return where true freedom lies. You can be calm in the center of the tides, one with the ocean, you enjoy the ride. Dive, dive deep, deep into the blue. Close your eyes and dive deep into the blue. Close your eyes and dive deep into the blue. You keep on searching as you go, but the wonderful pearl has always been with you. Dive, dive deep, deep into the blue. Close your eyes and dive deep into the blue. Oh, dive, dive deep, deep into the blue. Close your eyes and dive deep into the blue. Luka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. 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 Luka samasta Sukhino May everyone everywhere be happy. Feel compassion and be free. May everyone everywhere be happy. Feel compassion and be free. May everyone everywhere be happy. Feel compassion and be free. May everyone everywhere be happy. Feel compassion and be free. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. 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 Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu.
Wow, that was just so incredibly beautiful. And thank you so much, SwaminiJi. It looks like SwaminiJi was commenting a bit and also I think shared one of the mantras that was being chanted by Rene Sunbird. I loved, her dog is so cute, oh my gosh. And I couldn't help but think about how that's all of us. We're seated comfortably in the lap of Mother. And Ma is just constantly singing to us and chanting to us and providing us with this loving, nurturing experience. And what a pleasure that was. And Rene, thank you so much for making that beautiful special kirtan just for us for Navratri. We're so grateful. If anyone wants to see more of that, SwaminiJi is, of course, recording this live on Facebook. The videos will be there for you to go back and to chant again more with Rene Sunbird, and you can visit her at renesunbird.com. So before we conclude, and SwaminiJi raises a closing prayer, I just wanted to let you know that I've scheduled for tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll start with Homa again with Devi, and SwaminiJi will bring us into a meditation as a Durga Puja. And I think I might be frozen. So if you can hear me, Sri Devi Bringi will be here to do a Durga Puja. And then after that, Devi will share. And if you can hear me,
You're
let
coming.
me know.
We can hear you, but you're coming in and out a little bit. There you are. There you are. Can you hear me?
Okay, that's me. Okay. Okay. Yes, I can hear you. Did everyone hear the schedule? Shall I repeat that? No, right? Hello?
Hello? Now you're back, I think.
Okay. Maybe. So gone? Okay, schedule for tomorrow. We've got Homa, meditation, Satsang, Sri Devi Bringi will be here for Durga Puja. I put on the event page discussion, there's images of what you'll need to read for tomorrow's puja. It actually goes through about Navratri and then also the process of puja if you want to follow along and do that at home. And then Devi will be talking about Kalima as well. And finally, if you can this week, it would be much appreciated if you want to make a donation to Kula Kamala Foundation Yoga Ashram. It's appreciated, whether it's $1, $5, it's wonderful. And the website address is kulakamalafoundation.org. And the full schedule for the whole Navratri is also on there as well. At the navigation bar, you can click Navratri. Jema, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Special thanks to Jyoti Ma for her organizational skills. She has put all of this together so beautifully and drawn so many hearts from so many different areas around the world so that we could celebrate the amazing beauty, wisdom, strength, courageousness, wholeness of the mother. And thank you to Devi, just such a beautiful devotee, such a beautiful devotion that you share with us. And your presence teaches us, always reminds us of where we can, each and every one of us, take our devotion to. And so it is a great gift to be able to gather with such amazing hearts today and every day. And so, yes, it is a special time. It is Navratri. But we should really, as a community, strive to gather with like-minded individuals on a regular, consistent basis. It's called Sangha. And Sangha is like-minded individuals who you gather with in order to remain uplifted in your spiritual practices and to deepen your spiritual understandings. They are individuals who will not hinder you. They will only support you, love you, and move you along. Sometimes with a little shove, a loving shove, of course. So Sangha, very important. The thing that we should not gather in too often is Asanga. We put an A in front of that, and it means that it is not like-minded individuals. When we keep company with individuals who are of an opposing mind, then things become argumentative and conflicting, and that's not good for anyone's spiritual journey. That creates doubt in the hearts of all involved. So please do yourself a favor and find your Sangha, your community of like-minded individuals, and see them regularly. And maybe you already are. See them more, even more. So before I bring us into our closing meditation for the evening, one of the mantras that Rene offered is such a beautiful mantra. And to me, it is the essence of what the mother brings to us. Om asatoma satgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritam gamaya. From the unreal to the real, from the dark to the light, and from death to immortality. That is where she brings us. She takes us from what causes suffering into what heals our hearts and allows us to remember our wholeness. And so sitting nice and tall with both feet on the ground, spine nice and tall, hands resting in the lap, eyes closed or at a soft gaze. Breathe in, breathe out. And just breathing with awareness. Allow each breath to be your dedication to moving from the unreal to the real. In other words, let go of the stories, let go of the worries, let go of the things that just don't matter. And move yourself toward what is actual, what is true. Move yourself toward your devotion and toward her. Breathing in and breathing out, and with each breath, recommitting yourself to moving from the dark to the light. Acknowledging that there's always going to be some kind of a shadow there as long as we are in a human form. But the shadow doesn't have to lead the way. The shadow is typically behind us. We lead the way. Heart goes first. And the heart draws us to the light. And the light clears away the shadow, integrates it by absorbing it into its goodness. Breathing in and breathing out. And remind yourself, I am not this body, I am not this mind. These are things that belong to me, yes. They are my vehicles and my techniques and my tools. But you are something much different. This body has one life to live. And this is death and birth and death. But this soul goes on and on and on. And that is eternity. Just as the mother's love is eternity. And just as consciousness is eternity. Drawing the hands together in front of the heart. And together we'll lift our voices in one Om. Take a breath in. Om. May the Mother bless us and keep us safe. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. And in the meantime, if you have questions or comments or reflections, or you just want to say hi, message us on Facebook. You can message us in the Facebook group for this event, or you can message us individually. Any way you want to reach out is fine. And Devi will put the recording up for everybody together with the words and the links.
Well, the links, because I don't think I can get the words in there with the format being with a faithful format, I should say.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, so like if you want the words, just email me or ping me anything, and I'll get it to you, no problem.
Okay, perfect. And Jyoti will put the link up or the recording up for Rene Sunbird. Yes. And so you'll all have everything that you need, and Jyoti's email is right there in the chat. And you can also private message her through the Facebook page if you'd like, or just put a note up there for her. Whatever is easiest. We're easy. We're laid back. We save our energy for the spiritual work, you know? Yeah. So much love, so much light to each and every one of you. We'll see you tomorrow. Namaste. Bye.